What is going on, y'all? It's your boy Soge Kami, and I'm here to talk about this chapter 1138 of One Piece. Now, this might be one of my more just kind of elaborate, kind of abstract videos because there's a lot to talk about. This might have been the best lore chapter of One Piece of all time. It's a chapter we've been waiting for all of our life. Started at the top with quite possibly the most boring cover story ever, but the one thing I like about this cover story is it's who's who, and who's who is the first person in the manga to talk about this character, the sun god Nika. So it's very interesting that who's who made his comeback. I feel like Oda was definitely trying to delay the cover chapter so that who's who's reveal can coincide with Sun God Nika's reveal. That seems like something Oda would do. So starting off right at the beginning, Shanks is revealed to be the younger twin brother of Shamrock, and Shamrock lets us know that Shanks has returned to the Holy Land once, and I'm gonna assume that was after Roger made Shanks cry by telling him whatever he told him. And then, but after staying there for an undocumented amount of time, Shanks went back to the filthy lower lands to be that boy. So right now, it's still unconfirmed if the person who was talking to the Gorosei was Shanks or if it was Shamrock, but we can assume that probably was Shamrock, as Shanks has lost his snitch status. Now, Shamrock is attacking Loki, and Shamrock uses an ability called Cerberus, and he summons basically a giant three-headed dog that grows swords out of his mouth, with Shamrock called the Biting Blade. Now, this attack, it reminded me of Queen, considering how he launched it from its body, and the three heads went flying into the air. And then also it reminded me of Sasaki, who used when he was in his Triceratops form, his like kind of neck mane spun around and then he could use it to fly. So these things basically did the same thing to basically fly up into the air and then launched himself at Loki. Now Shamrock says, if you survive this, you can fight this. You can fight me, come find me and we'll fight. Loki, he doesn't really he's not really given villain or at all. So my expectation is that Loki somewhere down the line is gonna come back, and he has to do something, because Loki, this obviously can't kill Loki, you know, he has to survive somehow. But Shamrock, they definitely aura farmed like crazy off of Loki, aura farming him like crazy. Now it cuts over to Luffy, who is basically having a conversation with the giants that he saw, and the giants are telling him like, no, that was definitely Shanks. And Luffy's saying, no, that can't be him, it could have been anybody, coming up with theories of who it could be. And Zoro is a little skeptical too, like, why would Shanks come back? He just left. That doesn't sound like that doesn't sound like something a regular person could do. But Nami's kind of like looking at Luffy like, wow, you really like know this, like you really are sticking up for this guy. And he's like, yeah, what would someone say if they said this about Belmare? Like Luffy's really just going to show what his affection towards Shanks is like. I really enjoyed just the part where Shamrock talks about, that was my younger twin brother, and Loki says he ends up hating the whole family line, and then Luffy basically saying like, oh, this is like, by comparing it to Belmare, Luffy to me is implying that Shanks is his family. And then he talks about Shanks's, who Shanks's family was. Like, could it be a twin brother of Shanks? So Luffy's kind of like catching on to what might be going on, but like, could it be a twin brother or like some kind of imposter? At that moment, we see somebody like walking up the steps, and just because they mentioned like this family, it does make me think that the person who could be coming up the stairs is gonna be Scopper, someone related to Roger. If it's not Scopper, it's someone related to Roger in some way, someone who can talk about Shanks, someone who can talk about maybe some of the information. And I feel like Scopper is just that last character that could do that for us. And other than that, I don't know another character from the Rogers Pirates who would be able to kind of share that information. Also, this is the same guy who went back and was talking to Crocus at Reverse Mountain. So it would be someone who's related to Roger, and who would do that? Who would be somebody to do that? I assume it's going to be Scopper. Maybe the hair looked blonde, but it could be gray. I don't know. But we're going to get into the juiciest part of this chapter, and this is going to be the part that I'm probably going to spend the most time talking about, because there are just so many ideas and I'm going to be so scatterbrained. But Frankie is shown a mural by the giant lady, I forget her name, and she basically says that, oh, this could be a kid's dream, because Frankie's looking at it like, why are all these races of people fighting together? And she ends up saying something along the lines of, it doesn't, like, there have been tons of wars in this land, but this type of cooperation is unprecedented. But, you know, like, maybe this is what somebody wished could happen, you know? And Frankie says, you know, he needs to show Robin the mural. And at the same time, Robin is learning kind of a story, which you would kind of think the story and the mural coincide hand in hand. And so the story is called Harley, and the Harley story is basically told in 3 parts. And to me, it comes across as the part before the Void Century, the part that led into the Void Century, and then the part that started with the return of Joy Boy. So the first world is the first part, and it goes, the earth burned in endless flame, and in the hearts of men burned with desire. From whispered prayers the sun god rose, beckoned by the enslaved who reached for the forbidden star. The god of the land was enraged. With a serpent of fire, they cast the world into ruin. Darkness fell, death reigned, they would not meet again. A breath stirred in the abyss. The god of the forest wove their magic, nurturing its devils, while the sun lit the embers of war. Those of the half-crescent and full moons dreamed, yet the ones who slew the sun defied themselves. Evoking the wrath of the sea god, they would not meet again. And then the third world. Chaos reigns, the world drifts in a void, yet time did not erase the memory of the promised day. Its shadow looms as the voice of the half-moon echoes through the ages, and once more the sun god shall rise, laughing, dancing, guiding the world to its final act. The sun is reborn, a new dawn will break, surely they will meet this time. So, in the what I interpret this to mean is, in the first world, their people were enslaved and they desired freedom. We kind of learned that through Who's Who. And from the Whisper Prayers, they kind of hoped the sun god would come, the sun god saved them. And they kind of went too far, and basically one of the gods was enraged and he began a war against the sun god. And there was many fights for a long time. And then at the start, the second world starts with the death of Joy Boy, and that goes into the Void Century. A breath stirred in the abyss, the god of the forest, or this happens during this war. So the first world started with the rise of Nika, and then the second world started with the war of Joy Boy versus Emu. And this is where I would think that devil fruits have come from. And you see words like nurturing its devils, the sun lit the embers of war. I think when they say those are the half crescent and full moons dreamed, I feel like they're related to the will of D, the people with the D in their name, and the full moons would talk about the people who prayed to the moon. That might be the Lunarians, that might be the Minx, those characters. They teamed up and they dreamed, and they evoked the wrath of the sea. So this could be why basically what they did with the devil fruits ended up giving them, the people with the devil fruit power, not able to move in the sea because of this very moment. This also could be when the sea levels first rose. So I think all those things are relevant to this second world. And then in the third world, time does not erase the memory of the promised day. So this is what they're talking about, like the dawn and all of that when it comes to Luffy and stuff like that. Shadow looms as the voice of the half moon echoes. That's the will of D through the ages. And once more the sun god shall rise, which is Luffy, laughing, dancing, guiding the world to its final act, which is that D-Day. And guiding the reborn to final act, the sun is reborn, a new dawn will break, surely they will meet this time. The one thing that I'm not sure is, who is it that they would not meet again? So is it like, maybe there was there's the first world, second world, zero world, third world, and then maybe there was like a zero world where 3 people could not meet, and in general they are all trying to get to each other in some certain way. Now the issue with this is, if Luffy is Joy Boy and he met Poseidon, Poseidon already, then he's already met. So it's like, surely there has to be another person, another thing that, is supposed to lead all these things together. And that's the one part that I'm still lost in. Now I want to talk about this mirror a little bit. I'm not sure if we're to depict this all happening at one part or if this is 3 separate parts. But it looks to me like on the right you see a giant snake, which is talked about, and then at the top you see a bird. It looks like a dragon, so this could be like an ancient dragon of some type. And on the left it looks like a cross between some type of like ancient giant and Lunarian, you see, and it's holding the sun. So it's like that's what makes me think it's like a Lunarian, because it has the power of fire, it has the wings, and then it has like the horns, and it's giant. We see what looks like on the right side a big slave factory. It's very interesting. We see a big, looks like a slave factory, and we see people look like farming fire. So maybe this could be the ancient technology that people were basically forced to make, and this is how that came across. We see what looks like kings. We see what looks like the Noah's Ark underneath the king. We see a giant tree in the middle, which looks like probably treasure tree Adam. We see, and then on the left side we see what looks like the forces of Nika going to war against this giant ancient dragon. You see Joy Boy obviously with his stretched out hand, his sword, his shield. We see an ancient giant. We see Emeth. We see a Lunarian at the top. We see these people riding a whale, and then you see the King of the Sea, Poseidon. You see a Tuntata. You see a regular sized giant. You see what looks like a mink. There's somebody who looks like a werewolf at the top. We see a samurai. You can tell this is a samurai because you can see it's kind of top knot in the back. You see a ninja. You see what might be like a long arm tribe member. They're just different people of all different, sizes and like affiliations, all coming together to fight one battle versus. And the interesting part is in front of the demon, there's one set of people going after it. I'm assuming this is the God's Knight, somebody, but they don't have like a flag affiliation. So on the right side, we do see all these different flags. We see the sun god symbol on some of them. But this has just been one of like the interpretation. This is all happening. The sun is being held, but the moon still flies in the sky. So if somebody is trying to harvest the power of the sun, but the moon still has their back, it's such an interesting concept to me. I find that a lot can be interpreted from this, and also it's just vague enough for you to continue to wonder what's going to happen next. The mural is like, it does look like a kid's drawing, but anyone who's seen Emeth would be able to look at this and be like, I recognize that. So some of this happens, and it's really going to be up to Robin to interpret this a little more. And I do wonder if Vegapunk had seen this, and I wonder what Vegapunk would say if like Lilith would say if she saw this. And I'm just so curious as to what happens next with this, because this is just such an interesting part. We're finally getting answers about the Will of D. We're finally getting answers about the Void Century. It's all coming at this part, and I've had friends who've said that they've been waiting for this moment, and now that it's here, just crazy drop. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this chapter. I thought it was a fantastic chapter. I think this is one of the best chapters of One Piece that we've had in such a long time, and this is peak. It doesn't seem like we're having a break yet. If we can go until 11:40, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much for watching my video. This has been So Get Kami, and we out.